The Complete Works of William Shakespeare by William Shakespeare. Act I, Scene 1. London. A street. Enter Richard, Duke of Gloucester, solus Gloucester. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums chant to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barred steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I that am not shapped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun and descant on mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate the one against the other, and if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes. Enter Clarence, guarded, and Brackenbury brother, good day. What means this armed guard that waits upon your grace? Clarence. His Majesty, tendering my person's safety, hath appointed this conduct to convey me to Th Tower. Gloucester. Upon what cause? Clarence. Because my name is George. Gloucester. Alack, my lord, that fault is none of yours. He should, for that, commit your godfather's. Oh, belike his Majesty hath some intent that you should be new christened in the Tower. But what's the matter, Clarence? May I know? Clarence. Yea, Richard, when I know, for I protest as yet I do not, but as I can learn, he hearkens after prophecies and dreams, and from the crossroad plucks the letter G, and says a wizard told him that by G his issue disinherited should be, and for my name of George begins with G, it follows in his thought that I am he. These, as I learn, and such like toys as these hath moved his highness to commit me now. Gloucester. Why, this it is when men are argued by women. 'Tis not the king that sends you to the Tower, my Lady Grey his wife, Clarence, 'tis she that tempers him to this extremity. Was it not she and that good man of worship, Anthony Woodville, her brother there, that made him send Lord Hastings to the Tower, from whence this present day he is delivered? We are not safe, Clarence, we are not safe. Clarence. By heaven, I think there is no man is secure but the Queen's kindred, and night-walking heralds that trudge betwixt the king and mistress shore. Heard you not what an humble suppliant Lord Hastings was, for her delivery? Gloucester. Humbly complaining to her deity got my Lord Chamberlain his liberty. I'll tell you what I think it is our way, if we will keep in favour with the king, to be her men and wear her livery, the jealous o'erworn widow, and herself, since that our brother dubbed them gentlewomen, are mighty gossips in our monarchy. Brackenbury. I beseech your graces both to pardon me. His Majesty hath straitly given in charge that no man shall have private conference, of what degree soever, with your brother. Gloucester. Even so, and please your worship, Brackenbury, you may partake of anything we say. We speak no treason, man. We say the king is wise and virtuous, and his noble queen well struck in years, fair, and not jealous. We say that Shore's wife hath a pretty foot, a cherry lip, a bonny eye, a passing pleasing tongue, and that the queen's kindred are made gentlefolks. How say you, sir? Can you deny all this? Brackenbury. With this, my lord, myself have naught to do. Gloucester. Naught to do with Mistress Shore. I tell thee, fellow, he that doth naught with her, excepting one, were best to do it secretly alone. Brackenbury. What one, my lord? Gloucester. Her husband, knave. Wouldst thou betray me? Brackenbury. I do beseech your grace to pardon me, and withal forbear your conference with the noble Duke. Clarence. We know thy charge, Brackenbury, and will obey. Gloucester. We are the Queen's abjects, and must obey. Brother, farewell. I will unto the King, and whatso you will employ me in were it to call King Edward's widow sister, I will perform it to enfranchise you. Meantime, this deep disgrace and brotherhood touches me deeper than you can imagine. Clarence. I know it pleaseth either of us well. Gloucester. Well, your imprisonment shall not be long. I will deliver or else lie for you. Meantime, have patience. Clarence. I must perforce. Farewell. Exit Clarence, Brackenbury, and guard Gloucester. Go tread the path that thou shalt ne'er return. Simple, plain Clarence, I do love thee so that I will shortly send thy soul to heaven, if heaven will take the present at our hands. But who comes here? The new delivered Hastings? Enter Lord Hastings. Hastings. Good time of day unto my gracious lord. Gloucester. As much unto my good Lord Chamberlain. Well are you welcome to the open air. How hath your lordship brooked imprisonment? Hastings. With patience, noble lord, as prisoners must. But I shall live, my lord, to give them thanks that were the cause of my imprisonment. Gloucester. No doubt, and so shall Clarence too, for they that were your enemies are his, and have prevailed as much on him as you. Hastings. More pity that the eagle should be mewed whilst kites and buzzards prey at liberty. Gloucester. What news abroad? Hastings. No news so bad abroad as this at home. The king is sickly, weak, and melancholy, and his physicians fear him mightily. Gloucester. Now, by St. John, that news is bad indeed. Oh, he hath kept an evil diet long and overmuch consumed his royal person. 'Tis very grievous to be thought upon. Where is he? In his bed? Hastings. He is. Gloucester. Go you before, and I will follow you. Exit Hastings. He cannot live, I hope, and must not die till George be packed with post-horse up to heaven. I'll in to urge his hatred more to Clarence with lies well steeled with weighty arguments. And if I fail not in my deep intent, Clarence hath not another day to live. Which done, God take King Edward to his mercy, and leave the world for me to bustle in. For then I'll marry Warwick's youngest daughter. What though I killed her husband and her father? The readiest way to make the wench amends is to become her husband and her father. The which will I not all so much for love as for another secret close intent by marrying her which I must reach unto. But yet I run before my horse to market. Clarence still breathes, Edward still lives and reigns. When they are gone, then must I count my gains. Exit Scene 2. London. Another street. Enter corpse of King Henry VI, with halberds to guard it, lady and being the mourner, attended by Tressel and Berkeley and Set down, your honourable load if honour may be shrouded in a hearse, whilst I awhile obsequiously lament th untimely fall of virtuous Lancaster. Perky cold figure of a holy king, pale ashes of the house of Lancaster, thou bloodless remnant of that royal blood, be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne, wife to thy Edward, to thy slaughtered son, stabbed by the self-same hand that made these wounds. Lo, in these windows that let forth thy life I pour the helpless balm of my poor eyes. Oh, cursed be the hand that made these holes! Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it! Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence! More direful hap betide that hated wretch that makes us wretched by the death of thee than I can wish to adders, spiders, toads, or any creeping venom thing that lives. If ever he have child, abortive be it, prodigious, and untimely brought to light, whose ugly and unnatural aspect may fright the hopeful mother at the view, and that be heir to his unhappiness. If ever he have wife, let her be made more miserable by the death of him, than I am made by my young lord and thee. Come now towards Chertsey with your holy load, taken from Paul's to be interred there, and still as you are weary of this weight rest you, whiles I lament King Henry's course. The bearers take up the coffin, enter Gloucester, Gloucester. Stay, you that bear the corse, and set it down. And what black magician conjures up this fiend to stop devoted charitable deeds? Gloucester. Villains, set down the corse, or, by St. Paul, I'll make a course of him that disobeys. First Gentleman. My lord, stand back, and let the coffin pass. Gloucester. Unmannered dog. Stand thou when I command. Advance thy halberd higher than my breast, or, by St. Paul, I'll strike thee to my foot and spurn upon thee, beggar, for thy boldness. The bearers set down the coffin, and— What, do you tremble? Are you all afraid? Alas, I blame you not, for you are mortal, and mortal eyes cannot endure the devil. Avaunt, thou dreadful minister of hell! Thou hadst but power over his mortal body, his soul thou canst not have, therefore be gone. Gloucester. Sweet saint, for charity, be not so cursed. And— Foul devil, for God's sake, hence and trouble us not, for thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, filled it with cursing cries and deep exclaims. If thou delight to view thy heinous deeds, behold this pattern of thy butcheries. O gentlemen, see, see! Dead Henry's wounds open their congealed mouths and bleed afresh. Blush, blush, thou lump of foul deformity, for 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood from cold and empty veins where no blood dwells. Thy deeds inhuman and unnatural provokes this deluge most unnatural. O God, which this blood madst, revenge his death. O earth, which this blood drinkst, revenge his death. Either, heaven, with lightning strike the murderer dead, or, earth, gape open wide and eat him quick, as thou dost swallow up this good king's blood, which his hell-governed arm hath butchered. Gloucester. Lady, you know no rules of charity, which renders good for bad, blessings for curses. And— Villain, thou knowest nor law of God nor man, no beast so fierce but knows some touch of pity. Gloucester. But I know none, and therefore am no beast. And— O wonderful, when devils tell the truth. Gloucester. More wonderful when angels are so angry. Vouchsafe, divine perfection of a woman, of these supposed crimes to give me leave by circumstance but to acquit myself. And— Vouchsafe, diffused infection of a man, of these known evils but to give me leave by circumstance to accuse thy cursed self. Gloucester. Fairer than tongue can name thee, let me have some patient leisure to excuse myself. And— Fouler than heart can think thee, thou canst make no excuse current but to hang thyself. Gloucester. By such despair I should accuse myself. And— by despairing shalt thou stand excused for doing worthy vengeance on thyself that didst unworthy slaughter upon others. Gloucester. Say that I slew them not? And— then say they were not slain. But dead they are, and devilish slave by thee. Gloucester. I did not kill your husband. And— why, then he is alive. Gloucester. Nay, he is dead, and slain by Edward's hands. And— in thy foul throat thou least, Queen Margaret saw thy murderous falchion smoking in his blood, the which thou once didst bend against her breast, but that thy brothers beat aside the point. Gloucester. I was provoked by her slanderous tongue that laid their guilt upon my guiltless shoulders. And— thou wast provoked by thy bloody mind, that never dreamst on aught but butcheries. Didst thou not kill this king? Gloucester. I grant ye. And— dost grant me, hedgehog? Then, God grant me to thou mayst be damned for that wicked deed. Oh, he was gentle, mild, and virtuous. Gloucester. the better for the King of heaven that hath him. And he is in heaven, where thou shalt never come. Gloucester. Let him thank me that holp to send him thither, for he was fitter for that place than earth. And thou unfit for any place but hell. Gloucester. Yes, one place else, if you will hear me name it. And some dungeon. Gloucester. Your bedchamber. And ill rest betide the chamber where thou liest. Gloucester. So will it, madam, till I lie with you. And I hope so. Gloucester. I know so. But, gentle lady, and to leave this keen encounter of our wits, and fall something into a slower method, is not the causer of the timeless deaths of these Plantagenets, Henry and Edward, as blameful as the executioner? And thou wast the cause and most accursed effect. Gloucester. Your beauty was the cause of that effect, your beauty that did haunt me in my sleep to undertake the death of all the world so I might live 1 hour in your sweet bosom. And if I thought that, I tell thee, homicide, these nails should rend that beauty from my cheeks. Gloucester. These eyes could not endure that beauty's wreck, you should not blemish it if I stood by. As all the world is cheered by the sun, so I by that, it is my day, my life. And black night o'ershade thy day, and death thy life. Gloucester. Curse not thyself, fair creature, thou art both. And I would I were to be revenged on thee. Gloucester. It is a quarrel most unnatural, to be revenged on him that loveth thee. And it is a quarrel just and reasonable, to be revenged on him that killed my husband. Gloucester. He that bereft thee, lady, of thy husband did it to help thee to a better husband. And his better doth not breathe upon the earth. Gloucester. He lives that loves thee better than he could. And name him. Gloucester. Plantagenet. And why, that was he. Gloucester. The self-same name, but one of better nature. And where is he? Gloucester. Here. She spits at him. Why dost thou spit at me? And would it were mortal poison, for thy sake? Gloucester. Never came poison from so sweet a place. And never hung poison on a fouler toad. Out of my sight. Thou dost infect mine eyes. Gloucester. Thine eyes, sweet lady, have infected mine. And would they were basilisks to strike thee dead. Gloucester. I would they were, that I might die at once, for now they kill me with a living death. Those eyes of thine from mine have drawn salt tears, sham their aspects with store of childish drops these eyes, which never shed remorseful tear, no, when my father York and Edward wept to hear the piteous moan that our outland made when black effaced Clifford shook his sword at him, nor when thy warlike father, like a child, told the sad story of my father's death, and 20 times made pause to sob and weep that all the standers-by had wet their cheeks like trees bedashed with rain. In that sad time my manly eyes did scorn and humble tear, and what these sorrows could not thence exhale thy beauty hath, and made them blind with weeping. I never sued to friend nor enemy, my tongue could never learn sweet smoothing word, but now thy beauty is propod my fee, my proud heart sues, and prompts my tongue to speak. She looked scornfully at him. Teach not thy lips such scorn, for it was made for kissing, lady, not for such contempt. If thy revengeful heart cannot forgive, lo, here I lend thee this sharp-pointed sword, which if thou please to hide in this true breast and let the soul forth that adoreth thee, I lay it naked to the deadly stroke, and humbly beg the death upon my knee. He lays his breast open, she offers at it with his sword. Nay, do not pause, for I did kill King Henry, but 'twas thy beauty that provoked me. Nay, now dispatch, 'twas I that stabbed young Edward, but 'twas thy heavenly face that set me on. She falls the sword, take up the sword again, or take up me. And arise, dissembler, though I wish thy death, I will not be thy executioner. Gloucester. Then bid me kill myself, and I will do it, and I have already. Gloucester. That was in thy rage. Speak it again, and even with the word this hand, which for thy love did kill thy love, shall for thy love kill a far truer love, to both their deaths shalt thou be accessory. And I would I knew thy heart. Gloucester. 'Tis figured in my tongue. And I fear me both are false. Gloucester. Then never was man true. And well, put up your sword. Gloucester. Say, then, my peace is made. And that shalt thou know hereafter. Gloucester. But shall I live in hope? And all men, I hope, live so. Gloucester. Vouchsafe to wear this ring. And to take is not to give. Puts on the ring, Gloucester. Look how my ring encompasseth thy finger, even so thy breast encloseth my poor heart, where both of them, for both of them are thine. And if thy poor devoted servant may but beg one favor at thy gracious hand, thou dost confirm his happiness forever. And what is it? Gloucester. That it may please you leave these sad designs to him that hath most cause to be a mourner, and presently repair to Crosby House, whereafter I have solemnly interred at Chertsey Monastery this noble king, and wet his grave with my repentant tears. I will with all expedient duty see you. For divers unknown reasons, I beseech you, grant me this boon. And with all my heart, and much adjoys me too to see you are become so penitent. Tressel and Berkeley, go along with me. Gloucester. Bid me farewell. And 'tis more than you deserve, but since you teach me how to flatter you, imagine I have said farewell already. Exeunt two gentlemen with lady and Gloucester. Sirs, take up the course. Gentlemen. Towards Chertsey, noble lord? Gloucester. No, to Whitefriars, there attend my coming. Exeunt all but Gloucester. Was ever woman in this humour wooed? Was ever woman in this humour won? I'll have her, but I will not keep her long. What? I that killed her husband and his father to take her in her heart's extremest hate, with curses in her mouth, tears in her eyes, the bleeding witness of my hatred by, having God, her conscience, and these bars against me, and I no friends to back my suit at all but the plain devil and dissembling looks, and yet to win her, all the world to nothing. Ha! Has she forgot already that brave prince, Edward, her lord, whom I, some 3 months since, stabbed in my angry mood at Tewkesbury? A sweeter and a lovelier gentleman framed in the prodigality of nature, young, valiant, wise, and no doubt right royal the spacious world cannot again afford, and will she yet abase her eyes on me, that cropped the golden prime of this sweet prince and made her widow to a woeful bed? On me, whose all not equals Edward's moiety? On me, that halts and am misshapen thus? My dukedom to a beggarly denier, I do mistake my person all this while. Upon my life, she finds, although I cannot myself to be a marvellous proper man. I'll be at charges for a looking-glass, and entertain a score or two of tailors to study fashions to adorn my body. Since I am crept in favour with myself, I will maintain it with some little cost. But first I'll turn yon fellow in his grave, and then return lamenting to my love. Shine out, fair sun, till I have bought a glass, that I may see my shadow as I pass. Exit Scene 3. London. The palace. Enter Queen Elizabeth, Lord Rivers, and Lord Grey Rivers. Have patience, madam. There's no doubt His Majesty will soon recover his accustomed health. Grey. In that you brook it ill, it makes him worse. Therefore, for God's sake, entertain good comfort, and cheer his grace with quick and merry eyes. Q. Ye and Elizabeth. If he were dead, what would betide on me? Grey. No other harm but loss of such a lord. Queen Elizabeth. The loss of such a lord includes all harms. Grey. The heavens have blessed you with a goodly son to be your comforter when he is gone. Queen Elizabeth. Ah, he is young, and his minority is put unto the trust of Richard Gloucester, a man that loves not me, nor none of you, River. Is it concluded he shall be protector? Queen Elizabeth. It is determined, not concluded yet, but so it must be, if the king miscarry. Enter Buckingham and Derby Grey. Here come the lords of Buckingham and Derby. Buckingham. Good time of day unto your royal grace. Derby. God make your majesty joyful as you have been. Queen Elizabeth. The Countess Richmond, good my lord of Derby, to your good prayer will scarcely say amen. Yet, Derby, notwithstanding she's your wife and loves not me, be you, good lord, assert I hate not you for her proud arrogance. Derby. I do beseech you, either not believe the envious slanders of her false accusers, or, if she be accused on true report, bear with her weakness, which I think proceeds from wayward sickness and no grounded malice. Queen Elizabeth. Saw you the king today, my lord of Derby? Derby. But now the Duke of Buckingham and I are come from visiting his majesty. Queen Elizabeth. What likelihood of his amendment, lords? Buckingham. Madam, good hope, his grace speaks cheerfully. Queen Elizabeth. God grant him health. Did you confer with him? Buckingham. Aye, madam. He desires to make atonement between the Duke of Gloucester and your brothers, and between them and my Lord Chamberlain, and sent to warn them to his royal presence. Queen Elizabeth. Would all were well! But that will never be. I fear our happiness is at the height. Enter Gloucester, Hastings, and Dorset Gloucester. They do me wrong, and I will not endure it. Who is it that complains unto the king that I, forsooth, am stern and love them not? By holy Paul, they love his grace but lightly that fill his ears with such dissentious rumors. Because I cannot flatter and look fair, smile in men's faces, smooth, deceive, and duck with French nods and apish courtesy, I must be held a rancorous enemy. Cannot a plain man live and think no harm, but thus his simple truth must be abused with silken, sly, insinuating jacks? Grey. To who in all this presence speaks your grace? Gloucester. To thee, that hast nor honesty nor grace. When have I injured thee? When done thee wrong, or thee, or any of your faction? A plague upon you all! His royal grace, whom God preserve better than you would wish, cannot be quiet, sirs, a breathing while, but you must trouble him with lewd complaints. Queen Elizabeth. Brother of Gloucester, you mistake the matter. The king, on his own royal disposition and not provoked by any suitor else aiming, belike, at your interior hatred that in your outward action shows itself against my children, brothers, and myself makes him to send that he may learn the ground. Gloucester. I cannot tell. The world is grown so bad that wrens make prey where eagles dare not perch. Since every Jack became a gentleman, there's many a gentle person made a Jack. Queen Elizabeth. Come, come, we know your meaning, brother Gloucester. You envy my advancement and my friends. God grant we never may have need of you. Gloucester. Meantime, God grants that I have need of you. Our brother is imprisoned by your means, myself discracked, and the nobility held in contempt, while great promotions are daily given to ennoble those that scarce some 2 days since were worth a noble. Queen Elizabeth. By him that rised me to this careful height from that contented hap which I enjoyed, I never did incense his majesty against the Duke of Clarence, but have been an earnest advocate to plead for him. My lord, ye do me shameful injury falsely to draw me in these vile suspects. Gloucester. You may deny that you were not the mean of my Lord Hastings' late imprisonment. Rivers. She may, my lord, for Gloucester. She may, Lord Rivers? Why, who knows not so? She may do more, sir, than denying that. She may help you to many fair preferments, and then deny her aiding hand therein, and lay those honors on your high desert. What may she not? She may, I marry, may she, Rivers? What, marry, may she? Gloucester. What, marry, may she? Marry with a king, a bachelor, and a handsome stripling too. Hughie's your grandam had a worser match. Queen Elizabeth. My Lord of Gloucester, I have too long borne your blunt upbraidings and your bitter scoffs. By heaven, I will acquaint His Majesty of those gross taunts that oft I have endured. I had rather be a country servant maid than a great queen with this condition to be so baited, scorned, and stormed at. Enter old Queen Margaret, behind small joy have I in being England's queen. Queen Margaret. And lest Ned be that small, God, I beseech him. Thy honour, state, and seat is due to me. Gloucester. What? Threat you? Me with telling of the king? Tell him and spare not. Look what I have said I will avouched in presence of the king. I dare adventure to be sent to Th Toar. 'Tis time to speak, my pains are quite forgot. Queen Margaret. Out devil! I do remember them too well. Thou killedst my husband Henry in the Tower, and Edward, my poor son, at Tewkesbury. Gloucester. Ere you were queen, or your husband king, I was a pack-horse in his great affairs, a weeder out of his proud adversaries, a liberal rewarder of his friends. To royalize his blood I spent mine own. Queen Margaret. Aye, and much better blood than his or thine. Gloucester. In all which time you and your husband Grey were factious for the house of Lancaster, and Rivers, so were you. Was not your husband in Margaret's battle at St. Albans slain? Let me put in your minds, if you forget what you have been ere this, and what you are, withal, what I have been, and what I am. Queen Margaret. A murderous villain, and so still thou art. Gloucester. Poor Clarence did forsake his father, Warwick, aye, and forswore himself, which Jesu pardon, Queen Margaret. Which God revenge. Gloucester. To fight on Edward's party for the crown, and for his meed, poor lord, he is mewed up. I would to God my heart were flint like Edward's, or Edward's soft and pitiful like mine. I am too childish foolish for this world. Queen Margaret. Hie thee to hell for shame, and leave this world, thou cacodemon, there thy kingdom is. Rivers. My Lord of Gloucester, in those busy days which here you urge to prove us enemies, we followed then our Lord, our sovereign King. So should we you, if you should be our King. Gloucester. If I should be, I had rather be a peddler. Far be it from my heart, the thought thereof. Queen Elizabeth. As little joy, my lord, as you suppose you should enjoy were you this country's king, as little joy you may suppose in me that I enjoy, being the queen thereof. Queen Margaret. As little joy enjoys the queen thereof, for I am she, and altogether joyless. I can no longer hold me patient. Advancing, hear me, you wrangling pirates, that fall out in sharing that which you have pilled from me. Which of you trembles not that looks on me? If not that I am queen, you bow like subjects, yet that by you deposed, you quake like rebels? Ah, gentle villain, do not turn away. Gloucester. Foul wrinkled witch, what makest thou in my sight? Queen Margaret. But repetition of what thou hast marred, that will I make before I let thee go. Gloucester. Wert thou not banished on pain of death? Queen Margaret. I was, but I do find more pain in banishment than death can yield me here by my abode. A husband and a son now oust to me, and now a kingdom, all of you allegiance. This sorrow that I have by right is yours, and all the pleasures ye usurp are mine. Gloucester. The curse my noble father laid on thee, when thou didst crown his warlike brows with paper, and with thy scorns drewst rivers from his eyes, and then to dry them gav'st the Duke a clout steeped in the faultless blood of pretty Rutland. His curses then from bitterness of soul denounced against thee are all fallen upon thee, and God, not we, hath plotted thy bloody deed. Queen Elizabeth. So just as God to right the innocent. Hastings. Oh, 'twas the foulest deed to slay that babe, and the most merciless that e'er was heard of. Rivers. Tyrants themselves wept when it was reported. Dorset. No man but prophesied revenge for it. Buckingham. Northumberland, then present, wept to see it. Queen Margaret. What, were you snarling all before I came, ready to catch each other by the throat, and turn you all your hatred now on me? Did York's dread curse prevail so much with heaven that Henry's death, my lovely Edward's death, their kingdom's loss, my woeful banishment, should all but answer for that peevish brat? Can curses pierce the clouds and enter heaven? Why then, give way, dull clouds, to my quick curses. Though not by war, by surfeit die your king, as ours by murder, to make him a king. Edward thy son, that now is Prince of Wales, for Edward our son, that was Prince of Wales, die in his youth by like untimely violence. Thyself a queen, for me that was a queen, outlive thy glory, like my wretched self. Long mayest thou live to wail thy children's death, and see another, as I see thee now, decked in thy rights, as thou art stalled in mine. Long die thy happy days before thy death, and, after many lengthened hours of grief, die neither mother, wife, nor England's queen. Rivers and Dorset, you were standers by, and so wast thou, Lord Hastings, when my son was stabbed with bloody daggers. God, I pray him, that none of you may live his natural age, but by some unlooked accident cut off. Gloucester. Have done thy charm, thou hateful withered hag. Queen Margaret. And leave out thee? Stay, dog, for thou shalt hear me. If heaven have any grievous plague in store exceeding those that I can wish upon thee, oh, let them keep it till thy sins be ripe. And then hurl down their indignation on thee, the troubler of the poor world's peace. The worm of conscience still be now thy soul. Thy friends suspect for traitors while thou livest, and take deep traitors for thy dearest friends. No sleep close up that deadly eye of thine, unless it be while some tormenting dream affrights thee with a hell of ugly devils. Thou elvish-marked, abortive, rooting hog, thou that wast sealed in thy nativity the slave of nature and the son of hell, thou slander of thy heavy mother's womb, thou loathed issue of thy father's loins, thou rag of honor, thou detested Gloucester. Margaret. Queen Margaret. Richard. Gloucester. Ha! Queen Margaret. I call thee not. Gloucester. I cry thee mercy then, for I did think that thou hadst called me all these bitter names. Queen Margaret. Why, so I did, but looked for no reply. Oh, let me make the period to my curse. Gloucester. 'Tis done by me, and ends in Margaret. Queen Elizabeth. Thus have you breathed your curse against yourself. Queen Margaret. Pur-painted queen, vain flourish of my fortune! Why strew'st thou sugar on that bottled spider whose deadly web ensnareth thee about? Fool, fool! Thou whetst a knife to kill thyself. The day will come that thou shalt wish for me to help thee curse this poisonous bunch-backed toad. Hastings. False-boding woman, end thy frantic curse, lest to thy harm thou move our patience. Queen Margaret. Foul shame upon you! You have all mov mine. Rivers. Were you well served, you would be taught your duty. Queen Margaret. To serve me well you all should do me duty, teach me to be your queen and you my subjects. Oh, serve me well, and teach yourselves that duty. Dorset. Dispute not with her, she is lunatic. Queen Margaret. Peace, Master Marquis, you are malapert, your fire-new stamp of honor is scarce current. Oh, that your young nobility could judge what 'twere to lose it, and be miserable. They that stand high have many blasts to shake them, and if they fall they dash themselves to pieces. Gloucester. Good counsel, Mary, learn it, Marquis. Dorset. It touches you, my lord, as much as me. Gloucester. Aye, and much more, but I was born so high, our airy buildeth in the cedar's top, and dallies with the wind, and scorns the sun. Queen Margaret. And turns the sun to shade, alas! Alas! Witness my son, now in the shade of death, whose bright outshining beams thy cloudy wrath hath in eternal darkness folded up. Your airy buildeth in our Aries' nest. O God that sayest it, do not suffer it, as it is won with blood, lost be it so. Buckingham. Peace, peace, for shame, if not for charity. Queen Margaret. Urge neither charity nor shame to me. Uncharitably with me have you dealt, and shamefully my hopes by you are butchered. My charity is outrage, life my shame, and in that shame still live my sorrow's rage. Buckingham. Have done, have done. Queen Margaret. O princely Buckingham, I'll kiss thy hand in sign of league and amity with thee. Now fair befall thee in thy noble house. Thy garments are not spotted with our blood, nor thou within the compass of my curse. Buckingham. Nor no one here, for curses never pass the lips of those that breathe them in the air. Queen Margaret. I will not think but they ascend the sky and there awake God's gentle sleeping peace. O Buckingham, take heed of yonder dog. Look, when he fawns, he bites, and when he bites, his venom tooth will rankle to the death. Have not to do with him, beware of him. Sin, death, and hell have set their marks on him, and all their ministers attend on him. Gloucester. What doth she say, my lord of Buckingham? Buckingham. Nothing that I respect, my gracious lord. Queen Margaret. What, dost thou scorn me for my gentle counsel, and soothe the devil that I warn thee from? Oh, but remember this another day, when he shall split thy very heart with sorrow, and say poor Margaret was a prophetess. Live each of you the subjects to his hate, and he to yours, and all of you to God's. Exit Buckingham. My hair doth stand in end to hear her curses. Rivers. And so doth mine. I muse why she's at liberty. Gloucester. I cannot blame her. By God's holy mother, she hath had too much wrong, and I repent my part thereof that I have done to her. Queen Elizabeth. I never did her any to my knowledge. Gloucester. Yet you have all the vantage of her wrong. I was too hot to do somebody good that is too cold in thinking of it now. Mary, as for Clarence, he is well repaid, he is franked up to fatting for his pains. God pardon them that are the cause thereof. Rivers. A virtuous and a Christian-like conclusion, to pray for them that have done scathe to us. Gloucester. So do I ever, aside, being well advised, for had I curs now, I had curs myself. Enter Catesby. Catesby. Madam, his majesty doth ken for you, and for your grace, and you, my gracious lords. Queen Elizabeth. Catesby, I come. Lords, will you go with me? Rivers. We wait upon your grace. Exeunt all but Gloucester. Gloucester. I do the wrong, and first begin to brawl. The secret mischiefs that I set abroach I lay unto the grievous charge of others. Clarence, who I indeed have cast in darkness, I do beweep to many simple gulls, namely, to Derby, Hastings, Buckingham, and tell them 'tis the Queen and her allies that stir the King against the Duke my brother. Now they believe it, and withal wet me to be revenged on Rivers, Dorset, Grey. But then I sigh and, with a piece of scripture, tell them that God bids us do good for evil. And thus I clothe my naked villainy with odd old ends stolen forth of Holy Writ, and seem a saint when most I play the devil. Enter two murderers, but soft, here come my executioners. How now, my hearty stout resolved mates? Are you now going to dispatch this thing? First Murderer. We are, my lord, and come to have the warrant, that we may be admitted where he is. Gloucester. Well thought upon, I have it here about me. Gives the warrant, when you have done, repair to Crosby Place. But, sirs, be sudden in the execution, withal obdurate, do not hear him plead, for Clarence is well spoken, and perhaps may move your hearts to pity, if you mark him. First Murderer. Tut, tut, my lord, we will not stand to prate, talkers are no good doers. Be assured we go to use our hands and not our tongues. Gloucester. Your eyes drop millstones when fools' eyes fall tears. I like you, lads, about your business straight, go, go, dispatch. First Murderer. We will, my noble lord. Exeunt Scene 4. London. The Tower. Enter Clarence and Keeper. Keeper. Why looks your grace so heavily today? Clarence. Oh, I have passed a miserable night, so full of fearful dreams, of ugly sights, that, as I am a Christian faithful man, I would not spend another such a night though 'twere to buy a world of happy days, so full of dismal terror was the time. Keeper. What was your dream, my lord? I pray you tell me. Clarence. Methoughts that I had broken from the Tower and was embarked across to Burgundy, and in my company my brother Gloucester, who from my cabin tempted me to walk upon the hatches. Thence we looked toward England, and sighted up 1,000 heavy times, during the wars of York and Lancaster, that had befallen us. As we walked along upon the giddy footing of the hatches, methought that Gloucester stumbled, and in falling struck me, that thought to stay him, overboard into the tumbling billows of the main. O Lord, methought what pain it was to drown, what dreadful noise of waters in my ears, what sights of ugly death within my eyes. Methoughts I saw 1,000 fearful wrecks, 1,000 men that fishes gnawed upon, wedges of gold, great anchors, heaps of pearl, inestimable stones, unvalued jewels, all scattered in the bottom of the sea. Some lay in dead men's skulls, and in the holes where eyes did once inhabit there were crept, as 'twere in scorn of eyes, reflecting gems, that wooed the slimy bottom of the deep and mocked the dead bones that lay scattered by. Keeper. Had you such leisure in the time of death to gaze upon these secrets of the deep? Clarence. Methought I had, and often did I strive to yield the ghost, but still the envious flood stopped in my soul and would not let it forth to find the empty, vast, and wandering air, but smothered it within my panting bulk, who almost burst to belch it in the sea. Keeper. Awake you not in this sore agony? Clarence. No, no, my dream was lengthened after life. Oh, then began the tempest to my soul. I passed, methought, the melancholy flood with that sour ferryman which poets write of, unto the kingdom of perpetual night. The first that there did greet my stranger soul was my great father-in-law, renowned Warwick, who spake aloud, what scourge for perjury can this dark monarchy afford false Clarence? And so he vanished. Then came wandering by a shadow like an angel, with bright hair dabbled in blood, and he shrieked out aloud, Clarence is come, false, fleeting, perjured Clarence, that stabbed me in the field by Tewkesbury. Seize on him, furies, take him unto torment. With that, methoughts, a legion of foul fiends environed me, and howled in mine ears such hideous cries that, with the very noise, I trembling wacked, and for a season after could not believe but that I was in hell, such terrible impression made my dream. Keeper. No marvel, Lord, though it affrighted you. I am afraid, methinks, to hear you tell it. Clarence. Ah, keeper, keeper, I have done these things that now give evidence against my soul for Edward's sake, and see how he requites me. O God! If my deep prayers cannot appease thee, but thou wilt be avenged on my misdeeds, yet execute thy wrath in me alone. O spare my guiltless wife and my poor children! Keeper, I prithee sit by me a while. My soul is heavy, and I fain would sleep. Keeper. I will, my lord. God give your grace good rest. Clarence sleeps. Enter Brackenbury, the Lieutenant Brackenbury. Sorrow breaks seasons and reposing hours, makes the night morning and the noontide night. Princes have but their titles for their glories, an outward honor for an inward toil, and for unfelt imaginations they often feel a world of restless cares, so that between their tides and low name there's nothing differs but the outward fame. Enter the two murderers. First murderer. Ho! Who's here? Brackenbury. What wouldst thou, fellow, and how camest thou hither? First murderer. I would speak with Clarence, and I came hither on my legs. Brackenbury. What, so brief? Second murderer. 'Tis better, sir, than to be tedious. Let him see our commission and talk no more. Brackenbury reads it. Brackenbury. I am, in this, commanded to deliver the noble Duke of Clarence to your hands. I will not reason what is meant hereby, because I will be guiltless from the meaning. There lies the Duke asleep, and there the keys. I'll to the king and signify to him that thus I have resigned to you my charge. First murderer. You may, sir, 'tis a point of wisdom. Fare you well. Excellent Brackenbury and keeper second murderer. What, shall I stab him as he sleeps? First murderer. No, he'll say 'twas done cowardly, when he wakes. Second murderer. Why, he shall never wake until the great judgment day. First murderer. Why, then he'll say we stabbed him sleeping. Second murderer. The urging of that word judgment hath bred a kind of remorse in me. First murderer. What, art thou afraid? Second murderer. Not to kill him, having a warrant, but to be damned for killing him, from the which no warrant can defend me. First murderer. I thought thou hadst been resolute. Second murderer. So I am to let him live. First murderer. I'll back to the Duke of Gloucester and tell him so. Second murderer. Nay, I prithee stay a little. I hope this passionate humour of mine will change. It was wont to hold me but while one tells 20. First murderer. How dost thou feel thyself now? Second murderer. Faith, some certain dregs of conscience are yet within me. First murderer. Remember our reward, when the deed's done. Second murderer. Zounds, he dies, I had forgot the reward. First murderer. Where's thy conscience now? Second murderer. Oh, in the Duke of Gloucester's purse. First murderer. When he opens his purse to give us our reward, thy conscience flies out. Second murderer. 'Tis no matter, let it go, there's few or none will entertain it. First murderer. What if it come to thee again? Second murderer. I'll not meddle with it. It makes a man coward. A man cannot steal, but it accuseth him. A man cannot swear, but it checks him. A man cannot lie with his neighbor's wife, but it detects him. 'Tis a blushing shame-effaced spirit that mutinies in a man's bosom. It fills a man full of obstacles. It made me once restore a purse of gold that by chance I found. It beggars any man that keeps it. It is turned out of towns and cities for a dangerous thing, and every man that means to live well endeavors to trust to himself and live without it. First murderer. Zounds, 'tis even now at my elbow, persuading me not to kill the Duke. Second murderer. Take the devil in thy mind and believe him not. He would insinuate with thee but to make the sigh. First murderer. I am strong-framed. He cannot prevail with me. Second murderer. Spoke like a tall man that respects thy reputation. Come, shall we fall to work? First murderer. Take him on the costard with the hilts of thy sword, and then chop him in the momsey-bud in the next room. Second murderer. O excellent device! And make a sop of him. First murderer. Soft. He wakes. Second murderer. Strike. First murderer. No, we'll reason with him. Clarence. Where art thou, keeper? Give me a cup of wine. Second murderer. You shall have wine enough, my lord, anon. Clarence. In God's name, what art thou? First murderer. A man as you are. Clarence. But not as I am royal. Second murderer. Nor you as we are loyal. Clarence. Thy voice is thunder, but thy looks are humble. First murderer. My voice is now the king's, my looks mine own. Clarence. How darkly and how deadly dost thou speak! Your eyes do menace me. Why look you pale? Who sent you hither? Wherefore do you come? Second murderer. To Clarence. To murder me? Both murderers. Aye. Clarence. You scarcely have the hearts to tell me so, and therefore cannot have the hearts to do it. Wherein, my friends, have I offended you? First murderer. Offended us you have not, but the king. Clarence. I shall be reconciled to him again. Second murderer. Never, my lord, therefore prepare to die. Clarence. Are you drawn forth among a world of men to slay the innocent? What is my offense? Where is the evidence that doth accuse me? What lawful quest have given their verdict up unto the frowning judge, or who pronounced the bitter sentence of poor Clarence's death? Before I be convict by course of law, to threaten me with death is most unlawful. I charge you, as you hope to have redemption by Christ's dear blood shed for our grievous sins, that you depart and lay no hands on me. The deed you undertake is damnable. First murderer. What we will do, we do upon command. Second murderer. And he that hath commanded is our king. Clarence. Erroneous vassals. The great King of kings hath in the tables of his law commanded that thou shalt do no murder. Will you then spurn at his edict and fulfill a man's? Take heed, for he holds vengeance in his hand to hurl upon their heads that break his law. Second murderer. And that same vengeance doth he hurl on thee for false forswearing, and for murder too. Thou didst receive the sacrament to fight and quarrel of the house of Lancaster. First murderer. And like a traitor to the name of God didst break that vow, and with thy treacherous blade unripped thee the bowels of thy sovereign son. Second murderer. Whom thou wast sworn to cherish and defend. First murderer. How canst thou urge God's dreadful law to us, when thou hast broke it in such dear degree? Clarence. Alas! For whose sake did I that ill deed? For Edward, for my brother, for his sake. He sends you not to murder me for this, for in that sin he is as deep as I. If God will be avenged for the deed, oh, know you yet he doth it publicly. Take not the quarrel from his powerful arm. He needs no indirect or lawless course to cut off those that have offended him. First murderer. Who made thee then a bloody minister when gallant springing brave Plantagenet, that princely novice, was struck dead by thee? Clarence. My brother's love, the devil, and my rage. First murderer. Thy brother's love, our duty, and thy faults, provoke us hither now to slaughter thee. Clarence. If you do love my brother, hate not me. I am his brother, and I love him well. If you are hired for me, go back again, and I will send you to my brother Gloucester, who shall reward you better for my life than Edward will for tidings of my death. Second murderer. You are deceived, your brother Gloucester hates you. Clarence. Oh no, he loves me, and he holds me dear. Go you to him from me. First murderer. Aye, so we will. Clarence. Tell him when that our princely father York blessed his 3 sons with his victorious arm and charged us from his soul to love each other, he little thought of this divided friendship. Bid Gloucester think of this, and he will weep. First murderer. Aye, millstones, as he lessoned us to weep. Clarence. Oh, do not slander him, for he is kind. First murderer. Right as snow in harvest. Come, you deceive yourself, 'tis he that sends us to destroy you here. Clarence. It cannot be, for he bewept my fortune and hugged me in his arms, and swore with sobs that he would labor my delivery. First murderer. Why, so he doth, when he delivers you from this earth's thraldom to the joys of heaven. Second murderer. Make peace with God, for you must die, my lord. Clarence. Have you that holy feeling in your souls to counsel me to make my peace with God, and are you yet to your own souls so blind that you will war with God by murdering me? Oh, sirs, consider, they that set you on to do this deed will hate you for the deed. Second murderer. What shall we do? Clarence. Relent, and save your souls. First murderer. Relent. No, 'tis cowardly and womanish. Clarence. Not to relent is beastly, savage, devilish. Which of you, if you were a prince's son, being pent from liberty as I am now, if 2 such murderers as yourselves came to you, would not entreat for life? My friend, I spy some pity in thy looks. Oh, if thine eye be not a flatterer, come thou on my side and entreat for me as you would beg were you in my distress. A begging prince what beggar pities not. Second murderer. Look behind you, my lord. First murderer. Stabbing him, take that and that. If all this will not do, I'll drown you in the Momsey boat within. Exit with the body second murderer. A bloody deed, and desperately dispatched. How fain, like Pilate, would I wash my hands of this most grievous murder. Re-enter first murderer, how now, what mean'st thou that thou help'st me not? By heavens, the Duke shall know how slack you have been. Second murderer. I would he knew that I had saved his brother. Take thou the fee, and tell him what I say, for I repent me that the Duke is slain. Exit first murderer. So do not I. Go, coward as thou art. Well, I'll go hide the body in some hole, till that the Duke give order for his burial, and when I have my meed, I will away, for this will out, and then I must not stay. Exit.